what is an advice that you would give yourself now? So then the question becomes, if you can talk to the younger Keegan, the 21, the
Mhm.
22-year-old, what is something that you would want to tell him? And it's super obvious to you now, but this was for sure something that you were liking or that you liked.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's easy to give advice to other coaches, right? But when you frame it that way, what advice would I give myself?
Mhm.
Um, Probably not to worry so much. I think as a young person, you've got a good degree of anxiety about the future, and what's next. And I've probably spent an inordinate amount of energy worrying about the future. It made me passionate about the work that I was doing. I tried to do a great job, but I probably lost more nights of sleep than I needed to. Things have worked out okay, professionally and personally, but in those years of your life, I don't know, 22 to 30, um, there's a good degree of anxiety and worrying as opposed to just settle in and do the work and be when you are and where you are, as opposed to being so future oriented with your mindset. I think that's advice that I would give to any coach, or to myself. Because it did work out all right. But so just being more present where I am when I am, I think is advice I give to young people and young coaches all the time. Just thankfully, as you get into your 30s, I think some of that anxiety goes away and you get a sense of what really matters. But that's what I remember about those early years, I think. So,
And that came to you through experience, or also through like people around you, or people that were an example for you, or just people telling you that, look, like being anxious, etc., is not, it's not beneficial for the job that you're in or that you're doing.
I always think that the most important wisdom, if you want to call it that, comes from really difficult moments, right? And I think one important moment for me, I remember, I think it was Marv Dumphy, someone who I greatly respect, who I was talking to when I followed Jim McLaughlin, at Washington, which was a big jump. Things were not great in the first 6 months. Players were failing classes. There were rumors about players leaving. Some players were being difficult, and I was sharing these, complaints to I think it was Marv, and he said, "Okay, you're paid to get bad news, right?" Just and it was a very transformative moment for me in terms of how I looked at what a head coach or anybody in a position of leadership, what is their job? Their job is to receive bad news and respond to it well, for the athlete and for themselves and for the program. And so in that moment, when difficult things would happen or bad things would happen, I no longer viewed them as, failures on my part, but just opportunities to respond, and I think that was a very formative moment for me. Just, oh, what exactly am I supposed to be doing here? Receiving bad news well, I think, is a very important skill for people in positions of leadership. So that was something that was really helpful for me. And then I stopped worrying about bad things happening. They will happen. Adversity will find us in a million different forms. And how do we meet that adversity each time? And what does it say about us in the way that we respond to it? I think has been important for me.
Yeah, it's for sure going back to these like super cliche and super simple stoic principles of what is in your control, what isn't in your control. And
Yeah.
if you want to worry, if you want to work on something, work on the things that are in your control, and be great at spotting what is in your control and not. That's probably the first thing.
Yeah. It's funny you bring up stoicism. It relates to the question you asked about what book have you been reading, most. And I've been reading more of Marcus Aurelius and Seneca than ever before, and just again, what how we respond to unfortunate events and what really gives meaning to our work. I've found myself reading more of that in recent years than ever before.